What's up, everyone? So today what you're about to see is a profiling session, and one of the many profiling sessions that I turned in for my certification at Personality Hacker. So the reason why I'm posting these is so that you can kind of get an idea of how my profiling sessions kind of go, which are essentially me sitting down with you, interviewing you for about an hour and some change. Sometimes we break it up into two parts depending on how difficult the session is, or time constraints. But essentially you pay me to sit down with you, I'll record the session with you, and then we'll find what your best fit Myers-Briggs type is and try to see if you can arrive at the same conclusion of the person's type before the end of the video, to kind of brush up your own skills. This is intended to help you guys see, there will be some stereotypes that are like, oh, this person is a classic ISFJ. And then there could be some others that you would think like, what? But I read in a book that ISTPs are like this. But this one shows up pretty differently, than what you would think, while still using that same function stack. And that's the beauty that I found in Myers-Briggs, and pretty much being able to profile people. Like after profiling many people, then I'm continuing to sharpen what my accuracy is in, profiling the person properly, while also seeing all the nuances of how 100 different INFPs can show up while still using those same functions. So without further ado, check out the following profiling session. Have fun, trying to guess what personality type that the profilee is. Try to see the nuances, some things that might surprise you. And if you would like a profiling session yourself, be sure to hit me up at denzelmensah.com. All right, so let's get this popping. Beautiful. Okay. All right, so the way that this goes is I'm going to ask you a series of questions. You can be, actually, I prefer that you be as much of yourself as possible. And there's no wrong answers. And at the end, then I'm going to pretty much tell you which of the 16 personality types I believe that you are. And I'm going to explain why I believe you are this type, how your mind is wired, stuff like that. And that'll be your opportunity to let me know, like, that doesn't really fit. I think you misheard it over here. Or like to be like, oh yeah, no, that actually, resonates, stuff like that. Sounds good?
Yeah.
All right. Well, first and foremost, I want to ask you, really, there are going to be a lot of open-ended questions. But the first question I'm going to ask you, like, who are you?
As far as what, my name?
Anything that comes to mind. Whatever you decide to say or not to say says something about you.
I'm Linfred Lewis. I don't know how to describe myself in that way.
Yeah. Okay. No, that works. What do you do?
I work for the post office.
Nice. Okay. And around, I guess, what age range if you want to share that?
43.
All right, cool.
I'm not a woman. I want to share that.
All right, so first question I'm going to ask you is the question I ask everyone. And that is, what is something that you love to do? When I say you love to do, I mean you love to do so much. The only reason you stop is because you're absolutely exhausted. Otherwise, you would go on indefinitely.
That's a few things.
Oh, list them all off.
Well, I love movies.
Yeah, for sure.
Video games, basketball.
Anything else?
Sex.
I was waiting for that one. Anything else come to mind?
Not really.
All right. What about watching movies? Do you like What about it do you love the best?
Just like video games, watching movies is my escape from reality.
Nice.
So with everything that I have going on in my life, I can watch a movie or play a video game and escape.
Interesting. Do you feel like you're really tapped into reality?
Oh yeah, yeah.
What makes you say that?
It's just the way I'm built. I'm not a fantasy type person. Like I'm not gonna be the person that say I'm gonna be the president one day or an astronaut. I don't desire any of that stuff. So I would never say anything like that. So the reality is, all I care about is being comfortable. So working at the post office and whatever else I got lined up is fine for me.
Got you. So do you ever push yourself out of your comfort zone?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, in my later years, I don't as much because I have more responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So I stick to what I know and what's less risky. But when I was younger, yeah, that's how I ended up in the military. That definitely wasn't the comfort zone.
All right, Jamila's saying she wants to come in, so.
Come on, have a seat next to me.
Well, can I be in the camera? I probably
You don't have, I mean, you can if you want to.
Well, she's probably going to end up in there anyway because it's pretty wide, so you're probably going to end up in it anyway.
Yeah, you'll be all right. There'll be people.
I don't want you to get disqualified.
You'll be straight. It's all right. Okay, so we were talking about you being a risk taker, or pretty much like pulling yourself out of your comfort zone. You said that's what got you into the military, and then even things like earlier years. So talk to me a little bit about that. Like what would have made you more of a pushing yourself? Like what types of things would you say that were considered you pushing yourself out of your comfort zone in your earlier years?
Well, I mean, in my earlier years, I was more of an adrenaline junkie, so I would do stuff to get that fixed. Especially after being in the military, your adrenaline get pumped a lot of times in different situations. So when you get out, you miss it. And you try to find things to get your adrenaline flowing.
So you're saying that you were an adrenaline junkie before you got into the military?
I won't say before, but once I experienced that amount,
yeah, then
it was you need that fixed.
And then you feel like you miss it now?
Yeah. I mean, once you get out of the military, you always miss certain parts of it, not all.
What parts of the military did you like?
Travel, definitely traveling. Traveling, mostly traveling and shooting and doing stuff. I mean, you could do that outside the military, but that was part of the military that I enjoyed.
Yeah, for sure. Were you good at it? Shooting?
Oh yeah.
And...
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was an undergraduate. I mean, I was always good in school, so that wasn't a surprise. I was an undergraduate from military school, and even though I wasn't trying, but I was. And shooting, I was a sharpshooter. I was in communications, and I was always at the top for that. It's just, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it.
Nice.
So I don't like half stepping if I'm gonna do something. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it.
Nice. Okay. Could you actually talk to me a little bit about how you were like as a child when like growing up? Like, what would like your parents have said about you, or teachers, stuff like that?
Well, I mean, I was always a loner. Like I'd be by myself, playing by myself. But then once I got so many siblings, of course, it was hard to be by yourself. But I'm still more of a loner. I always been a loner. When COVID hit and everybody was stuck in the house, I was fine with it because that don't bother me not one bit. So I could stay in this room and play video games and watch movies, and I can do that forever, and it wasn't gonna bother me. So So that's how I was growing up. I was always a loner.
Interesting.
But I had so many people around me, so if I needed to talk to somebody, I could definitely talk to somebody. But I would have preferred not having so many brothers and sisters. That's for sure.
So, if I were to put you in two different scenarios, right? Both being nightmare scenarios, I guess you kind of lived the second one. But if you were to be on an island by yourself with just video games, movies, all of that, but you can't communicate with anybody else off of that island, which is pretty much no one, for a month. Or to be in a house, maybe like this one, with all of your loved ones and your friends for a month, but you don't get any privacy except for potentially when you're in the bathroom. Then which one would be more of a nightmare for you?
I ain't neither one of them nightmares. I guess I just go with the island thing because I got kids and stuff, so I want to be around them.
Nice.
But ain't neither one of them nightmares. I survive fine either way. But since I do have kids,
Right.
I'm not going to voluntarily leave them for a month. So that'd be the nightmare, I guess.
Okay, got you. So even though you consider yourself to be a loner, like, is it more of like not necessarily by choice, but just like, no, I can be alone? Or,
yeah, I can be alone.
Got you.
That's more of my natural way of being, as opposed to like my wife, who during COVID was about to lose her mind. Me, I'm like, what's wrong with you? I was fine.
Because you had your movies and your videos.
Yeah, I have a movie. As long as I got this room, I don't even need the rest of the house. I'm good.
What is it about this room that you love so much?
Well, I mean, this is my comfort zone. It's got my movies and my video games in here, and this is what I like and where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the perfect setup. I mean, that was why I bought the house.
Right.
I wanted my own room, and this was the perfect size. So
when you're playing video games, you usually play with other people, or you?
No, I always play by myself.
Why such a strong answer?
Well, I mean, it ain't nobody here for me to play video games with, and then like the online play, people be calling y'all kind of racial names and stuff, racial slurs, but I ain't got time for that. So I just play by myself, play against the computer.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Earlier I asked you what puts you in flow. Like, what are things that you love to do?
Mm-hmm.
I want to know some of the things that you absolutely like hate doing. You can't stand it.
Cutting grass. Cutting grass. Going through mail. Going to work. Well, I ain't gonna say going to work. I'm gonna say having the obligation to have to go to work. It's a difference. I don't mind working. I just don't want to work because somebody else says I have to work today.
Word.
I want to work because it's my time. And I need it. Well, I do have my own business, but I need to get full force on that.
For sure. Tell us a little bit about that. What is your own business?
So I just started a government contracting business, but I haven't deep dove into it because I had other stuff going on. Mm-hmm. And like I say, when I do something, I want to do it full force. And if I can't go full force, I'm not going to start.
Oh, it makes sense. Have you always been that way?
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't like having a buyer's remorse feeling. I hate that feeling. That's one of the worst feelings in the world for me. Mm-hmm. Like if I started my business and half-assed it, mm-hmm. and it didn't turn out the way I wanted, mm-hmm. but then I would just be sitting there saying to myself, but you didn't give yourself 100% effort. Mm-hmm. So what could it have been? Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to try again. So if I'm not going to do it full force, then it ain't going to even start.
Gotcha.
I mean, even with video games, if I'm not going to dedicate myself to playing the game, I'm not gonna start it because I know I'm gonna end up putting it down, and then I'm gonna have to start all over because I forgot how to play the game. Because some of these games are pretty difficult. If you don't remember all your moves halfway through. So
no, I definitely feel you on that.
So it's like that with pretty much everything. I don't like going into something knowing that I'm not going to give it the full effort. So I just wait until I know for sure. Like with my business, I say this is my last ditch effort to get out the post office. If this don't work, then I'm gonna just be at the post office until I retire. But I want to make sure I give it 100% effort because then I can say, well, at least I tried. It didn't work. Okay, so I'm at the post office, and I can be satisfied with the results in that situation. But if I don't give it 100% effort, I'm always be arguing with myself in my mind, like you didn't even do half of the stuff you were supposed to do, to make that work. And it's gonna be something else. I have to try again or something.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be back and forth. Is do it or don't do it.
Got you. I respect that.
Marry her or let her go. All that kind of stuff.
How would you describe yourself, even if other people disagreed?
See, you asking the same question.
This is about you.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't even never describe myself. I consider myself a nice guy, but I'm pretty sure there's some people that would disagree with that, like the guy in Korea. He disagree with that. But I'm a nice guy. I'm a nice guy. What's the best way to say it? I'm a nice guy until I'm not.
Okay. All right. Okay.
It makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. I'm a nice guy until you flip my switch and then you're on the other side. Then I'm not a nice guy to you.
And is it like
I'm very protective of my family, immediate and even some distant. And I don't like. I feel like I'm the guy because somebody else might not be willing to go as far as I would. So I'm the guy. If somebody mess with my mama, I'm the guy because I know she's not gonna do nothing to them, but I will. So, that very protective of family. Love to have fun. Love nice things. But on the other side of that, I can live a very simple life and be totally satisfied as long as I have everything I need. Hence, wanting to have an RV and live off the grid.
Got it. Okay. Same question pretty much, but a little bit of the spin. How would other people describe you, even if you disagreed?
Well, that would definitely depend on who you ask. Cause
Right.
that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying about I'm a nice guy until I'm not. Some people met me when I wasn't the first time. So they probably would describe me as a very mean person that they don't want to associate with. But if my mom described me, I was her favorite child. And she'd say that in front of all the rest of them. So, I mean, it's just depending on who you ask. I mean, a serial killer is a good person to somebody.
Wow.
I mean, if you look at it.
Why would you be considered your mom's favorite child? What set you apart?
I think because I always, well, for one, I was the oldest son. So then I was always taking care of my brothers and sisters, always looking out for my parents, even when I left the house, doing stuff for them. I always called, I always talked to them. I think that was what made me the favorite child. And it wasn't because I was trying to be the favorite child, it's just, that's just my nature. I mean, my parents took care of me, they love me. I try to show, I love y'all too. Here you go. Take care of you when I can.
Got you. Would other people consider you to be an organized person?
Depending on what we're talking about. When it comes to business, yeah. When it comes to business, yeah. I'm very organized and keep the books tight because I don't want mistakes made in those kind of areas. But when it comes to my home, not always, no.
Gotcha.
It just depends on what area the house is.
Gotcha, yeah.
The common areas I want to stay pretty tight, and my areas, personal areas, it don't bother me much.
So you can work in like a lot of clutter and stuff like that?
If I made the clutter, yeah. If it's somebody else's clutter, no.
Gotcha.
I call it organized chaos. I know where all my stuff is. Even if it look like it's not organized, I if it's a stack of papers, I can tell you it's a stack of paper I need right under, piece of paper I need right under the bottom.
Got it.
It's just the way my mind works. I got a good memory. So my stuff, yeah, I know everything is over there. But other people's stuff, no. And I hate it. But like I said, this is my stuff to deal with, so I don't worry about that. But when it comes to like a business where other people gonna have to be looking at this and that, yeah, I keep everything super tight because I want them to be able to find what I'm telling them they need to find. Okay, look right here, it's right there.
Got it. Would other people consider you to be a spontaneous person?
Oh yeah, definitely. But like I said, I like to travel and stuff, and sometimes I might just be in the mood to get up and go do something else.
How much do you have to plan beforehand? Like, do you always have to like to a T know exactly what you're going to be doing, like if you travel and stuff like that? Or...
if it's my family, yeah. If it's just me, no.
Okay. So when it's just
when it's just me, I can do stuff on the fly.
Yeah.
They don't need to be totally planned out. But when it's everybody, no, it need to be. I need to know the route I'm going on the highway, everything. And I don't want to make any mistakes, turn around. I don't want to have to stop. If I didn't plan on stopping, this is what we're doing. So if it's me, no, I can do whatever. Because when I'm with my family, I don't want any extra stress.
Right.
Because I know the potential for that is there when you got family and something can go wrong or time constraints or whatever. And somebody mess it up. So I want to know what's happening. This is what we need to be doing and have everything lined up so that way there's no confusion, no extra stress added to the trip.
Yeah. Got you. Okay. Switching gears a little bit. How would you describe your relationship with your emotions?
I think I got a great control of my emotions. If I didn't, I'd be in jail right now.
Okay.
It takes a lot for somebody to flip my switch, but that's why I say once you flip my switch and you justify my actions or whatever I do next, that's where it's a problem for you.
Talk to us a little bit more about that. Like, how would other people justify your actions?
Well, like that guy I was talking about in Korea. If he hadn't ever said what he said, I never would have came for him. But he said something that definitely wasn't true. He said he was going to beat my ass if I asked for that money again. You're not going to beat my ass for asking for my money. That's not going to happen, and I want to prove it to you. You made me have to come prove to you that you don't know what you're talking about. And so when it comes to respect, I grew up in a family where that's a big thing.
Right.
Respect is huge for your parents, elders, all of that. So I never understand when people come at you and are disrespectful when they don't even know you, because that's pretty bad for a lot of people. You disrespect somebody in a bad way, it can go wrong for you.
Yeah.
So it's like, why would you even put yourself in that position? A risk that I wouldn't take. But if you do it on the other side, then I want to show you why you shouldn't do that. I feel like I'm justified if you disrespect me on a certain level.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So just using that example of that other guy, and there's been other examples of same kind of stuff. You can't disrespect me and you don't even know me like that. We're not friends like that. We didn't grow up together. And you just totally disrespect me and think I'm just going to sit back and let that go down like that. Plus, I was by myself at that time. Now that I have a family and responsibilities, it takes a lot more If that same situation happened today, I wouldn't go get that guy for $80. It's not as serious to risk my freedom in that situation. But at that time, I was by myself and I was younger, and you ain't gonna do that. So now it would take somebody like doing something to my family where I know I can get away with what I'm about to do to you and not go to jail because you crossed the line,
right?
Disrespecting my family or putting them in danger or whatever.
Yeah.
And now you didn't justify my actions. I can do whatever I want to do to you, and it's your fault. In my mind, you brought this on yourself.
Got you. So when it comes to, because you said that you're in control of your emotions, so would you say they really tapped into them? Like you're aware of every emotion that you're feeling, or?
I ain't gonna say every emotion. I mean, of course, sad, happy, the regular everyday type stuff. But I can't say everything that I'm feeling in those moments.
Gotcha.
At all. I just be angry. Yeah. But at the same time, like I said about the adrenaline thing, and also knowing that I'm not about to get in trouble for what I'm doing to you because you justified it and put me in a position where I can do this and not get in trouble. I think that will make me happy. And I think the adrenaline rush will make me happy. And I'm angry at the same time. So I guess all of that plays into it. I did say I like adrenaline rush, so fighting that's an adrenaline rush.
Got it.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be happy. I punch you in the face.
Yeah, and you're a good fighter?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Undefeated. Except when I got gamed twice. But that don't count because there's more than one person beating you up. And I did pretty good in those situations too. Okay. They didn't want to fight me no more.
So you would say that you're someone who's like really tapped in with your body, aware of your surroundings. A lot of times, like you catch somebody even scratching their balls or something, like you catch all of that.
Yeah, I see it. I mean, I'm attentive in large crowd settings, not just because of how crazy the world is now, but maybe it got something to do with the military. But I think I was like that before that. I don't know. Being in a large crowd just makes me nervous. So I pay attention to what everybody's doing. And I know I do that because when I say something to my wife sometimes, like, you didn't see that? No. I'm like, man, you did it right there. It's clear to see. You didn't see that guy just digging his nose? Pull that book out. It's like, how you didn't see that? That was disgusting. Or this girl that just walked by with no clothes on. Like, what? No, you didn't see it? I didn't see this yet.
Well, we all know that you're going to peep that, though.
I would know it's a dude without getting too. Like, is nobody going to acknowledge that this person barely have any clothes on? All kind of stuff.
Yeah, got you. So, in order from least to greatest, what of these three takes up the most space in your mind? Past, present, and future.
Future.
Okay. And then what will come next?
Present.
Right. And this is least to greatest? Or greatest?
Greatest to least.
Greatest to least, okay. Future, present, and then past, okay. And why would you put it in that order?
Because, well, future definitely is the greatest because I'm always trying to think of ways to get my family ahead and get my girl set up. Plan for me and Chasney's life after the girl's gone and all kind of stuff. It's always future.
Were you always a future thinker before you had your family? Like you were good at being able to gauge what the consequences were, planning far ahead, seeing long.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, as you gain more knowledge, yeah. But I don't know about as a child. Maybe once I got to middle school and high school, I was thinking about stuff like that. But younger, no, but yeah, middle school, high school age, yeah, I started thinking that way, and I definitely think about consequences of my action. There was plenty of times I was about to get in trouble.
Were you good at being able to get yourself out? Like,
oh yeah, the gift of gab.
The gift of gab. Talk to us about that.
Well, I mean, I was always able to make people laugh. So if somebody was upset with me, I could always turn it around before it got too bad. Because, like I say, I don't want to have my switch flipped. So I try to de-escalate if I can, if I didn't feel like I should be in that situation with that person. But if you keep asking for it, and you give me a reason, like I said, then that switch get flipped. And my adrenaline get flowing and I get happy and do stuff.
What would you say is something that's very obvious to you, but not obvious to other people? Or even things, if there's more than one.
That's obvious to me, it's not obvious to other people.
Yeah.
Give me an example of what you mean by that.
Like, it seems like something that's obvious to you usually is like, people, like, they're not catching somebody just picking their nose, or, somebody just, slapped their child, or, whatever. Someone just got pickpocketed, maybe, I don't know. But you catch all of that. So what are like some other things that may be like obvious to you? Like maybe even certain opinions that you might have that you're like, man, how do y'all not know this?
That kind of thing I don't usually know until I'm in the moment. Cause I mean, on one hand, I'm thinking about it like you saying, "Oh, you know this," but other people don't generally know this. But I could say that about the surround sound. I didn't take any training to set up stuff like this, but I can do it. But that's because I had a general knowledge of electricity a long time ago. And then I started doing car stereos. But I didn't never get training to do it. And then this whole setup is kind of like a car stereo. So it just translated over. But I know that's not the good example. So
that's actually helpful though. Like, so you're really good at being able to translate information and how to do things into other.
If something relates to something else, like I say, like this setup is pretty much the same as like installing a car stereo. You got your head unit right there. You got amps to power the speakers. You got the speakers. It's a relationship, but some people don't put that together. And it's like that with a lot of stuff as far as like handyman type stuff. Because I know the guy down the street always telling me, you know how to fix everything. I was like, everybody know how to do that.
But maybe
changing tires on cars. I mean, just stuff. I just know how to do that stuff. For whatever reason, I started doing something earlier. I don't really know how to answer that question.
Yeah, no, that's good. What about things that are obvious to other people but not very obvious to you?
Well, I don't know if this will be an answer for that, but feelings.
Feelings. Okay.
I don't. It's never obvious to me about feelings. My wife has pointed that out to me a million times.
Talk to me a little bit about that.
Because I'm such a blunt and straightforward person. Sometimes the way I say stuff or word it, it's really not the way I should have said it. If I was thinking about people's feelings, but I'm usually not. I'm just saying it because that's what the answer is. You ask me a question, I'm not thinking about if I answer this way, then I won't be on punishment for a week. If I answer this way, then it's over for me. So I don't think about this. I just answer the question. And the first thing that like this. Oh, you hurt my feelings. Like what? How? Yeah, I don't feelings people's feelings and their facial expressions, it don't change my responses for some reason. I don't think about the consequences of the words that I use when I'm answering questions for somebody that it potentially might hurt their feelings. That's definitely something I don't notice.
Do you feel bad when you've hurt someone's feelings, or
it depends on if I can even try to understand why their feelings hurt. If I can't figure out how you feel, then I won't feel bad. I'm like, come on, man, you being sensitive. That's all, you being real sensitive. But if I can see, like, oh man, yeah, I shouldn't have said it that way. I wasn't even thinking. I just answered too fast. Yeah, then I feel bad, especially if it's somebody I love and care about.
Yeah.
But if I don't know you like that or love and care about you, it's gonna be harder for me to feel some type of way. Your feelings get hurt.
I feel that. Okay. Do you have any examples of times where you might have hurt someone's feelings where you were just saying it how you thought it?
Oh yeah, definitely. This woman at my job, she asked me if I noticed anything different about her, and I said no. And she said, "Well, you didn't notice that I done lost like 30 pounds?" And I was like, "No." I could have said yeah, and I know that would have made her feel better, but I was just trying to be truthful. You asked me a question, I said no. You asked me another question, I said no. I didn't notice. And she called me an asshole. It's like, and I was here trying to figure why she was so mad at me. You asked me the questions, and then now I'm the asshole because you still look fat to me. Like, why was that me? Because I answer honestly. And then people said that people heard it and they was like, "You wrong." I'm like, "How wrong?" Like, you know she lost weight, you know she been exercising. Like, well, I didn't even know what she was talking about when she asked me at first. Do I notice anything different about it? I didn't want to say the wrong thing in that. I did pause. I was like, your head bigger? I mean, what am I supposed to say? Like, no, I don't notice anything different. You got different clothes on than yesterday. But her hair wasn't different, so I was really confused by that question. And then she said she lost 30 pounds, but if you lose 30 pounds and you was 300, people not going to notice too quick. If you 185 and you lose 30 pounds, yes, I would definitely notice that. But 300 to 270 and you 5'5", I'm not going to notice that. And that's how a lot of my situations end up. And then I'm in a debate or a fuss with somebody about something else.
That was a great example.
Yeah, well, that was an example I had a few times at work.
You got one more?
Well, I could have a billion with my wife. Let me think of one. I mean, she might just like ask me do I want to do something that she want to do, and she know I don't really like it, but she'll ask me anyway, and I'll say no. And she said, "Well, could you just say you like it because I want to do it?" And I say no. I don't feel like I should have to lie for somebody's feelings in those kind of situations, because I just don't feel like it's that serious that should hurt you so bad that I don't want to do everything that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
We're two different people. Mm-hmm. And that's a conflict a lot of times when we have those feeling situations. Mm-hmm. I mean, we went to therapy about it because I'm so blunt and direct to the point. I don't like beating around, going around in circles and stuff for just anything. I'd rather just say it.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's a direct answer. It shouldn't be confusing. Mm-hmm. No, yes, I don't like that. Okay. I mean, it's just direct and to the point. You ask me if I like something. No, I don't. And I'm still not gonna like it, even if you like it, you know.
And that's how you prefer people talk to you too, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, definitely. At work is this guy. He can never tell a story without getting off track. And it makes me so mad because I might be headed to break and I want to make it to break. And he'll start telling his story and he'll get off track. And then he'll say, now what was I saying again? I said, man, you said you was going to that house, man. You know, I want him to get to the point. I forgot why we even started this conversation. So yeah, I do like people to talk to me that way. You know, tell me what it is, and not this way. Then I'm in another circle connected to all the rings of the Olympics. Like, come on, man, I don't know what we're talking about anymore. You know, so yeah, I do like people to be direct with me.
When it comes to very abstract, conceptual, and philosophical topics and conversations, how are you like when it comes to that? How you feel about it?
Well, you already know I love deep diving into, you know, people's views on the Bible and everybody's philosophies on all kind of stuff. Space, aliens, anything. I can get into all of that. And I love that kind of deep thought conversation, and you get different perspectives and points of views. And like I say, I respect anybody's point of view. I'm not going to tell you totally wrong on something that's hypothetical anyway, because neither one of us really know.
Right.
So it's just good and interesting to hear people's different perspectives on stuff like that.
Yeah. How long can you talk about those hypothetical scenarios?
Days.
Huh.
That's lifelong conversation. I mean, if it's never a direct answer, until it's a direct answer, so we don't have to go back and forth on different philosophies about it.
What's an example of a conversation that you probably had recently that you were lost in for hours? Damn, it's like 3 a.m. You know.
Well, we could have been lost last night in religion conversations, man. Basketball. That was one of the basketball, football, sports, because you have 1,000 things you can talk about that you don't know about until the teams play each other. So that's another one.
Are those easier for you, or harder, or just as equal? You know, like when it comes to like future trajectory of like, you know, how sports are going to go versus like, okay, well, what is the meaning of life and, you know, stuff like that.
It depends on who I'm talking to. If I'm talking to someone that's not into sports, and our conversations usually are about aliens and how big this universe is over here or whatever, it's just as enjoyable as a sports conversation. It's not one over the other.
Okay.
If I enjoy the topic, if I'm interested in the topic, it's the same.
Got you. Okay. Cool. And you've always been like that too?
Oh yeah.
Remember?
Oh yeah.
Nice. Are you good at being able to shift into other people's perspective?
No. Nope. And that's part of my feelings problem, because I can't do that well. I look at it from my side. I try to look at it from their side, and I can't figure it out. So I don't see how they feel that way, and that's why I get messed up, because I'm not sensitive. So if somebody is sensitive, which there's a lot of sensitive people out there, and I can offend real easily. You know, like, wow, you know, I didn't even see that coming. Like what? like I say, my cousin, when I said the prayer thing, he was so mad, and he wouldn't even talk to me. Like, man, I was like, man, you still mad about that? Because I had my own opinion about what, and you couldn't prove me wrong.
Could you actually rehash that? You know, just in case my instructor.
Yeah. I had I don't even want to say debate with my cousin. It was just a conversation. He observed that I didn't pray over my food before I ate, and he asked me why, and I just told him that a long time ago, I prayed to God to bless all the food that I ever put in my body, and and that includes a piece of gum, any beverage, anything. So I did that prayer, and that way I don't have to try to remember when I eat a snack or whatever. And he didn't agree with it, and he recruited his preacher friend to try to discredit what I was saying, that I couldn't do that. And they searched through all these scriptures and read all these scriptures, and none of them quite supported their argument. They almost a little bit, but no, it didn't really say that. So he was upset that he couldn't prove me wrong and was telling me that I couldn't do that. That's not the way it's done. And I said, well, you couldn't show me, you know. And I mean, I wasn't even mad at him about it. It was pretty funny to me because I knew he wasn't going to be able to find it. And he was upset with me about that because of a hypothetical. You don't have an answer for that. It don't say I can't do it. So you could be right, but I could too. So it don't matter. Just let it go. What I believe is what I believe on that one.
Do you tend to have a lot of controversial opinions?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
You want to share like one or two? Feel comfortable doing so?
Yeah.
No judgment, of course.
Oh, I'm going to get judged. Jamila going to judge me definitely on this.
Oh my gosh.
Another report I did in college, I titled it The Power of a Woman. And I gave all these biblical references and through Greek mythology and all the guys, everything, how women had a strong influence on men sexually that started wars and everything.
Oh, it's right in front of the...
It's like on a little foot stand in front of the TV.
Okay.
Yeah, how women influence a lot of stuff through sex. And I had gave that example of the Adam and Eve from the beginning. And nobody ever thought about that in my class. Like, how could you, and then they were like, how could you say that? You know? But I mean, if you really look at it, I said that's really common throughout married people's lives.
And just you know, for them who don't know what you're talking about, like, what is it exactly?
So, my theory on why Adam ate the fruit in the Garden of Eden was because God had created Eve for Adam, and that was his only source of sexual satisfaction. And she asked him to eat the fruit, and he probably didn't want to eat the fruit, but he did because he didn't want her to be mad at him, and he stuck on the straw by himself. So that's why he ate the fruit. And he didn't think God was going to find out, but he was wrong. And here we are. And I even went to the Samson and Delilah. I said, Samson, strongest man, didn't tell anybody his secret. Why did he tell Delilah? Because she was screwing his brains out. And he told that secret real quick. And I mean, and like I say, I mean, even today where men do everything for a woman. We are, well, most men, I can't say y'all, I'm speaking for men like myself, but I wouldn't even have most of the stuff if it wasn't for wanting to please my woman.
Word.
And that's just the way it's been through history. I mean, you can go through countless times and you're like, wow, I never thought about it like that, but yeah, that make a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, that's good. Would you say you have a second controversial opinion that you could share too?
That you're not born gay. That's a debate.
What's your stance on that? Or
you're not born gay. You're not.
Simple as that?
Yeah. Because I mean, if you go back to when you were a child, everything you see growing up influences that kind of stuff. You know, if I was born in a society with just men, then I'm gonna end up being attracted to men. That's all that's there. You grow up that way. That's what you see. If I grew up and all I see are farmers, then I'm gonna want to be a farmer. That's all I know. That's all I see. But when you have women and men coming up together or whatever, or however they raised or whatever, you can't tell me that to me it's a natural thing. You're naturally attracted to the opposite sex. It's just the way it is. And whether you get curious or whatever later on down the line, it's still something that you had to have seen to even get curious.
Gotcha.
It's like you wouldn't even know nothing about that. So you get curious. Cause I mean, I know I can only speak for myself. I just feel like you not born gay, not born that way. Cause that's not you. Two men can't make a baby. So naturally, in the wild, is to procreate and continue your species. So naturally, you're gonna be that way. Now we have way more free choice. Even chimpanzees do. Intelligent creatures, mammals, whatever. So yeah, you get these variations then, but not in the most animalistic, basic lines of life. Right. It's to procreate, continue your species, and whatever.
Yeah.
And the natural way to do that as humans is a man and a woman. So you're wired that way first. With our intelligence, you can switch at whatever point in your life. But I just don't feel like, unless they find a gene or something, I'm waiting on it. And I just say I was wrong.
Gotcha.
But that's a topic for debate a lot at my job and with my wife.
Okay. All right.
I mean, what baby you think come out acting like a girl? They don't even do that. So that's why I'm like, you can't tell me that all of a sudden they twitching and flipping their wrists and saying, I was born this way. No, you was not. You weren't born that way. And I mean, I got gay friends, man. And they can't even say for sure that they were born that way. Because some of them, they was with women before they started being gay. And that's why I just say, you already seeing stuff all your life, and then you get curious for whatever reason, and you might try, and maybe that's what you always like, whatever. You just didn't know because you didn't try. I don't know. I really don't. It's just a topic for discussion.
Yeah, and it's just your opinion.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's just what makes sense to you. I feel that. Are you? Actually, I'm gonna ask this. What gains your respect for people?
Being honest, honestly. Even if it's something that I might not want to hear. If you can be honest and direct and not one of those people that try to sugarcoat and dance around what I'm asking because you think it might hurt my, no, just tell me. I got that make me respect people a lot more.
For sure.
Honest.
Okay. Would you say that you're someone who's more of a rabbit trail type of person, or are you someone who sees things simply for what they are? Like, I guess a better way to ask, like, are you someone who sees things for what they are and then you just call it as it is? Or are you someone who sees something and then you put deeper meaning behind it and just embellish it with all of this significance of some sort?
But I guess that would depend on the subject, but if it's something direct that I'm looking at, a physical thing, I see it as what it is and I can call it whatever. But when you're talking about, like I was talking about aliens and hypotheticals and biblical and religious type debates is not a real answer for it. So yeah, then I do more deep dive and jump around and say, you know, this theory here, I got another one, but I can counteract my own theory with this, you know. And it's those type of subjects that I deep dive in. But
do they never seem like a waste of time to you?
no.
Nice.
No. Because I mean, if you're talking to somebody and having a great conversation, that's already not a waste of time to me.
Right, right.
I like that kind of stuff because most people don't think that kind of way to have that kind of conversation. It's uncomfortable for some people, like I was saying about not knowing what happens to you when you die. That's why religions are so prevalent everywhere, because that gives people a blueprint from the start to finish.
Yeah.
You know, so they know and they're comfortable. You know, but what was I saying? Just deal with my dude that do his job.
Got you. Okay, cool. We'll be wrapping up soon. What is the biggest lesson that you had to learn the hard way?
Oh, can't trust everybody. Can't trust everybody.
Okay.
I learned that the hard way a lot of times. And I mean, in my cases, I always go back and look and say, but what could I have done different to prevent that from happening? Because every time you learn that lesson, it hurts more the next time. Because you keep, like I was saying about myself earlier, I don't take risk in that way, emotionally. I do the risk physically, but I don't want to take an emotional risk. And that's why when you trust somebody and they betray your trust and it hurts your feelings real bad and you don't ever want to feel that way again, okay, I ain't going to try that again. And then you end up in another situation with your mama or your daddy or something, and of course you trust them, and then something happened, and then you, oh man, I never thought that could happen, you know, and now your feelings hurt again. It's like, okay, I don't want nobody to get too close,
right?
You know,
right.
So an example of that would be my first wife. I mean, I was raised to believe that women, sugar and spice and everything nice, and so like I said, I felt like if I treated her right, do my responsibilities, then she'll love me forever, you know, just like I love her. And that's not the case at all. And that's why I say once I learned that that situation wasn't my fault, because at first I was blaming myself. I was like, oh, what did I do wrong? You know, I should have did this and I did this, and if I ever get another relationship, I'm gonna have to do it this way. And you can't do all that. It's just your mind going crazy in that moment because your world got turned upside down. But after that, like in my marriage now, in my relationship now, my feelings just don't get hurt. I don't know if I put up so many walls or whatever. It just don't faze me like that no more, emotionally. Yeah. Oh.
And would you say that's a good thing?
Not according to my therapist. not according to my therapist. I mean, I didn't see it as a bad thing because I wasn't overreacting. Right. Like in my first marriage, we used to argue. I mean, it got heated. The veins in my head and everything just, and it's like, why? I don't want to be like that with a person that I profess my love to and want to spend the rest of my life with. Right. Why are we doing this? So now I end up in a mode where I don't want to argue. Yeah. I don't ever want to argue. Even though I know that's a part of a relationship. But I just don't want to. Because I don't feel like it's necessary. We can have a conversation. Right. And not agree. Yeah. And it's okay. Now we still might have to revisit it if it's a serious subject. But it's okay to not agree. Yeah. And we can still be happy and love each other and keep moving forward without any issues.
Got you.
Just because we didn't agree on something.
Yeah.
Two different people. So I had to start accepting that for my first marriage. I had to start accepting that that's a whole nother person over there.
Mm-hmm.
And they're grown. And they're going to do whatever they want to do. And no matter what you do, they still have that freedom of choice to do whatever they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no need of you even worrying about what you were supposed to do in the relationship. And she go do whatever, or he go do whatever. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't necessarily about you at all.
That's good. That's
so I don't get over emotional about what somebody else do in a relationship as much anymore like I used to. Yeah, man, that saved me a lot of arguments.
Mm-hmm.
I don't barely ever remember even raising my voice too much. It's like it's just not that serious.
That's not the type of adrenaline that you like.
No. Because I can't punch nobody in the face, so I'm not gonna be happy. So see that blocks all of that. It's just the adrenaline start. I just do this. Like, man, I hear you, man. You tripping. I'm not finna get to that level with you. I'm gonna stay right here. You get tired of fussing at a wall.
About how long term do you plan? Like how far do you plan?
Ooh, years. This house, the canning spot I had, the car I have now, years. I watch a million YouTube videos on a subject, RVs. I can give you all the information you need on certain things that caught my attention over the years. Because, like I said at the beginning of this, I hate the feeling of buyer's remorse. So I'll do years of research, so that way when I get what I get, I'm totally satisfied. I don't look at anything and say, "Oh, I should have did this." Or I should. Never. When I get what I get, which pretty much usually be something top of the line, so I can't want for anything better because it's the best one they made. So, yeah, I do years of research. I look at future plans years at, like when Giselle was 8 years old, I'd already made the plan for her after she graduated college.
Wow. Okay.
Just to give her a boost and help her out.
Yeah.
And so I done started talking with her about stocks now. She's 15, but she still can get a general understanding. So she'll know how to start her own building blocks once she get out in the financial world.
Good to know. And would you say that you're really good with resource management?
What you mean?
Like money and stuff like that. Like, are you good with being able to handle it? You know, like.
Yeah, I'm good at handling it. I mean, I'll take risk. Not as much now as I used to. Like I say, once I had a family, it's more people involved. If something go wrong for just me, then I'm not tripping on that because I can recover. But when your whole family involved and kids in school, you don't want to take too many crazy risks.
Yeah, how was it like before they were involved?
I wasn't afraid to take a risk. I would take a risk and lose everything and not be upset about it because I know I'll recover because I'm only by myself. So
okay,
I won't do that now at all.
So before you had your family and everything, would you say that you were someone who preferred structure and, you know, like going about your day, maybe even like a routine of some sort? Or were you more of someone who's like go with the flow and not really like needing to know what's coming up next?
When I was in elementary and middle school, yeah, I wanted structure. I wanted to know what was going on. But once I became more of a free spirit in high school and got a little more freedom to go do what I wanted to do, then I would just go with the flow. I mean, I worked and did all my homework and made good grades and everything, but after school, we out here. Oh, that's okay. Let's go there. Oh, they want to go over here now. Okay, I had no problems with that at that time. But I'm usually a person that likes to know what's going on, so there's no confusion. You know, I like for my wife to text me or call me in the middle of the day and let me know what the dinner plans are. So that way, when I get off work, I know what I got to do. If she say, I'm not cooking tonight, get the girls something to eat, I can say, okay, I want to get this to eat. When I get off work, I pick up the girls, go get that to eat, go home, sit down, and I'm comfortable. And I drive down this street in this way to avoid traffic, and I get home in no time. I do all of that just off that I'm not cooking tonight. And that upsets me because I'll get home, take my shoes off, get in my chair, and she'll say, oh, I'm not cooking tonight. Can you get the girls something to eat? And then I'm like, why you didn't tell me that? I went and picked them up and everything and brought them home. And you could have told me that a while ago. So now I gotta put my shoes on, go back out and get them something to eat, get myself something to eat. And then it might be a little late, stuff closing up. You know, decisions gotta be made quickly. And I just don't like it. I like a pre-planned what's going on.
Okay. So you would always prefer pre-planned over making decisions?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But if you have to make quick decisions, then
I can do
okay
it.
with it.
Yeah, I can do it.
But it's just not.
That's not my preferred method. Yeah. And it would be better if it was me doing it to myself, not somebody else saying something to me and putting me. And it's like, come on. But if I do it to myself, and I did it to myself, so I don't have nobody to blame but myself.
Got you. So even if it's if it's you doing it to yourself, you're still mad about that because if I didn't plan something correctly, you know, I mean even like I was saying about planning the route in my head. If I actually go that route and I end up stuck in traffic, then I'm mad at myself. Man, should I have went this way? I shouldn't have went this way. Now I'm upset that I'm stuck in traffic because that's what I was totally trying to avoid, and I ended up stuck in traffic. Got you. Because I forgot they was doing construction on this street, and so now it's gonna be backed up on this at traffic time, and I didn't remember that. Stuff like that. Gotcha. Okay, cool. I think my last question that I'm gonna throw at you for now is, how are you like when it comes to like symbolism? Like, do you pick up on symbolism really easily, or is that something that you look at and you're like, what? What is that? Or like, you know what I mean? Is it something that interests you?
What you mean pick up on symbolism?
Like, so I know, like, the cross is a symbol for something. I don't know, like there's like symbols like everywhere. Like, are you someone who? Because I know that you're well read, from what I can remember. Like, you've read a lot of different books and you've thought about a lot of different things. So, would you say that naturally you are also someone who, man, I don't even know how to ask the question. Like when you see something that, I don't know how to ask the question. I'm trying to find a way to ask it, but it's not coming out right. And I feel like you kind of already touched on it earlier. We're probably gonna have to do a part 2. Yeah, because it's like I feel like I know what type you are. Like, I'm pretty sure.
I got split personalities, man.
That's what it is.
but then
One
you,
for each marriage.
but then I'm trying to like.
Maybe that's what it is. One for each switch. This one on this side, and this one right here, believe this, and this one right here, you better leave him alone. He's not a nice guy.
Yeah, no, I'm cause I like I said, I feel like I know, or I'm pretty confident on it, but the quote unquote like evidence behind it, I'm like, okay, let me be more open to a different type. So right now I'm like between two, and I'm pretty sure of one from knowing you, but then from your answers, it seems like a different one. I'm like, what if I've just been thinking something else? So now I have to think a little bit more on like how to really distinguish those other ones. And I might have to come back to you for part two, and that's where I'll explain everything as well. But I'm gonna run it by my instructor and everything because she needs facts. She's not gonna take my word. She has to see it from you. So it's like, all right. But yeah, I think my last question actually is like, and you might not even have anything to say this, but what would you like? Because I asked you at the beginning, like, how would you describe yourself, or who are you? Is there anything that you feel a lot of people don't really know about you that maybe might surprise people about you, or things?
No, because like I said, I'm pretty direct and honest with people, even early on. Once I'm comfortable talking to you, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really hide anything about myself because I'm not embarrassed by any of it. I'm not embarrassed by anything that I've done or something that happened to me. I just tell you, I mean, it don't bother me. So most people that I talk to, like, they know me, like, through and through. And I don't hide myself. I don't hide myself much. I might, out of respect, okay, like Auntie Villa and Virginia, they know me, but they don't know everything about how I am, just to protect the argument. I ain't even gonna say feelings because I ain't got no problem with nobody's feelings being hurt. So that's not what it is. It's just it'll be a debate that neither side gonna give in on. So there's no need of me even going there. So I'll hide that part about myself just to avoid the argument, and that's it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes total sense. I'm gonna stop it there. We will definitely come back to this. I appreciate your time.
I'm here, man.
All right, what's up, people? So you have now hopefully watched the part one of me and Linfred's profiling session, and I want to give you all this disclaimer before we get into the part two. So I actually went into that session thinking this was going to be a very easy ESTP, and then pretty much his answer started to confuse me a little bit, mainly when it came down to him being like, oh yeah, I'm so much of a planner and this, that. And then I was starting to think like, crap, is he like an ENTJ? But then there was a lot of other things that just wasn't like adding up and stuff like that. And it was really the SCNI in the middle, which come to find out, he's actually an ISTP. Now, of course, there are probably some things that you guys might notice that you're like, oh, wait a minute. I actually was not sure. I was actually he didn't really fit some of the ISTP stereotypes that I was expecting and stuff like that. Even for me, that was like one of the first times I like saw like, oh, how an ISTP can like plan. But since then, I've actually noticed more and more, and that's actually why a lot of ISTPs kind of confuse themselves for INTJs, and a lot of other people confuse INTJs for ISTPs, because ISTPs actually are able to plan more than we might think that a perceiver type can, and that's that tertiary NI. Now, of course, they're not usually playing in the same way that NJs do, even though sometimes they might speak like it. But there's a lot of different factors that might go into play with that, and hopefully, as you like watch this and the other video, then you're able to get that together. But if you have any questions on that, then leave that, and maybe I'll do a separate video on that as well. But without further ado, let's see the rest of this session. Okay. And your phone is all charged up?
Yeah, hold up.
All right.
Okay, say something.
All right. Can you hear me now? Something. Anything.
Okay, we good.
Okay, you good? All right, cool. So I'm going to ask a few more questions just to verify if you are the type that I believe that you are. And then I'll go into explaining what it is. So,
Unicorn.
what'd you say?
I said unicorn.
Is there something intriguing to you if you were to be? Do you feel like you're a unicorn?
I don't know. I really don't. I don't know what I am. I just know I'm different. I know I'm different than most people I run into. I know that.
I want to know the ways that you think that you're different than most people that you run into.
Because I seem to think more outside the box than most people. And even if I feel like this is the way everybody in the world should feel, for some reason it just never really is that way. Like whatever the way I feel about a subject, it might be totally opposite of what the person I'm talking to feel like, and then they looking at me like, how could you feel that way about this? As opposed to the way I'm looking at it, like, how could you feel the way you feel? It don't even make sense to me. Yeah, that kind. We talked about that before anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, just for the sake of recording, could you restate what we did talk about then before?
I was just talking about religion and stuff like that, and how people won't even open their mind to consider that they might be wrong. To me, I mean, I just feel like the intelligent way to approach anything is to question, have questions.
Right.
But for religion, nobody want to do that.
I feel that. Okay, cool. When it comes to dealing with other people's emotions and feelings and everything, people that you don't really know all too well, do you think that you're good with handling them? You're good with like managing other people's emotions, or?
I don't even, since I know that, like we said earlier, I don't really think about that part as much. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but I might say something telling the truth and it hurt their feelings. So I'm dealing with somebody that I don't really know like that. I might not even want to respond because I don't know how they're going to take it. So sometimes I just listen to them and they say something, and I might say the politically correct answer just to avoid hurting anybody's feelings or something.
Right.
But somebody familiar with that I know, and they know that I'm not intentionally trying to hurt their feelings, then I give them my honest, true opinion most of the time.
Right.
It still don't always go over well, but
yeah, that makes sense. Okay, and I guess I want to know about your alone time. How much alone time do you need on the regular to feel like your complete self?
Well, since I got kids, that changed the game. But I mean, for the most part, I did like to have a good
few hours out the day that I could collect my thoughts and make my plans for the week or whatever. I would like to have that time for myself and just not be bothered by anybody. But like I say, with kids, that's just not happening too much.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess in a perfect world, how much time would that take? Like, how much time would you need, like, maybe every day, at least for you to feel like your complete self? And then what happens if you don't get that time alone?
Well, I mean, I would say I would like a good 3 hours just myself, but I mean, even if it don't happen, like I said, I done got used to this lifestyle now.
Mm,
It don't bother me as much. But
mm,
before, I could get kind of grumpy if I felt like I wasn't getting time to collect my thoughts and do things the way I wanted to. I mean,
interesting.
I can handle pressure moments and last minute stuff, but I don't prefer that. I like to know what's going on ahead of time, so that way I already had the situation played out in my mind. So whatever can come up during that time, I'm ready for it. You know.
Mm-hmm, 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 mm. Yeah, that makes sense.
So
Got
like
it.
so
Mm-hmm,
if I'm sitting down throughout the day and I say, okay, you know, 2 days from now I got to go to my in-laws and have a get together or whatever. I handle that get together better if I already had mentally prepared for it earlier.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
If I come home from work and it's, hey, we got to go to my mom's for this get together, I really don't like that. It'll mess my whole mood because I'm not ready, and I feel like I need time to prepare myself for that.
Yeah, yeah. Got
So,
you.
because in my mind, I might have been thinking, hey, I'm finna go home and sit down and just be by myself for a minute. But
Mm-hmm.
then sudden everything has changed and I'm in front of people and I wasn't planning on being in front of people. So now my whole mood is different than it would be if I
Yeah,
at the time what was going on.
got it,
I
got
just
it.
have my mind prepared for big things. Uh, and it might not even be anything to deal with another person. It might just be something that I got to do as far as work or doing something with my business or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like to know ahead of time. I like to be mentally prepared ahead of time and run the scenario through my mind a few times. So anything that could possibly come up, I'm already mentally prepared for it. So if it happened, I'm not even tripping. I already know what I'm gonna do.
Right. Yeah, got you. Okay. When so you said that you don't really like, I guess, having to be like in front of people in that way. Especially like when it's like unexpected.
Yeah.
Um, what types of people don't drain you?
Huh?
What types of people don't drain you?
Don't dream.
Drain, like
Oh, don't.
decrease your energy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that is like I say, my kids, of course. I'm
Yeah.
prepared for them all the time because I already know what level they on.
Mm,
But at the spur of the moment, I mean, it wouldn't even matter what type of person it is. If I hadn't planned on doing anything, I mean, even if my parents called me and be like, "Hey, could you come over here and help us do this?" You know, man, come on. You know, like, I was just over there the other day. You didn't say anything. Now all of us, when I already got something going on, you just telling me I need you right now. You know, so it don't even matter what type of it could be my own parents, and I mean I love them to death, but
mm.
just don't like those kind of situations.
Yeah. Got you. Okay, cool. Um, I'm seeing if there's any more boxes that I want to just check off. Mm, okay, I think my final question for you would be, What? Sorry, give me a moment. Actually, let me see. Best way to ask this. Okay. So I know that you're someone who really values, um, I guess, like logic and being right and like the way that you think and everything. How do you go about that? Like, I know that you said like you ask questions and everything, but like, how do you like? Okay, I guess my first question would be like, would you say that you're someone who's capable of knowing when other people are lying to themselves and even when you're lying to yourself? And then number two, how do you keep yourself from lying to yourself if that's true? You know what I'm saying?
Uh, that's pretty easy. I mean, I don't like lies. So that, and then I don't know if it's just being a sage or whatever. I want the truth. It don't matter if it's the hard truth or whatever. I just want the truth. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I don't like being played with or none of that stuff. So lies are out on
Right.
anything. I don't want somebody to lie to me trying to protect my feelings because that's irrelevant to me when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to answering the question that I asked or whatever. I just want the truth, and I handle the truth to whatever truth it is. It don't even matter if it's good or bad. If I ask, I want the truth. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 That makes sense. And then when it comes to you sussing out what truth is, that's also very easy for you. Like
yeah,
even if you've already believed something for so long, then it's easy for you to be like, whoa, and change your mind quickly.
well, I mean, it depends on what kind of subject. If it's a subjective subject,
Mm-hmm.
then of course either one of us could be right.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm willing to accept somebody else's right answer
Mm-hmm.
for those kind of subjects. But when it's something concrete that's factual based and I can show you the statistics and numbers and everything, you can't tell me anything different because I know what it is. I know exactly what it is. And it is no way to argue it because it's based off of facts and numbers and statistics. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't tell me that this is not the right answer in that
Yeah.
situation. So that's when I have a problem when somebody trying to change my way of thinking on it when it's something that's based in facts and numbers. You can't do that. You know, there is no argument in the answer. This is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But try to do that anyway, and that's when I have an issue because to me that's just arguing just to argue.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
have anything to bring to the argument to prove your point.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to argue with me that this is the right answer, and 1 + 1 = 2. It don't equal 2.5. It don't equal 3. 1 + 1 = 2. So
Mm-hmm.
and that's all we got. It ain't nothing else to talk about. It, you can't say, well, if the one is written in calligraphy and this, it don't change the answer. So I always end up running into those people that try to make a false argument when you have facts and figures and numbers to go
Mm-hmm.
off, and that's why I have a big issue with that. I can't,
Gotcha.
I can't stand people that do that, just trying to be right, and there's no way for them to be right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, come on, man.
Got you. Okay, cool. All right. Well then I think that we're pretty much good right now. I'll go ahead and uh I'm just gonna find a graphic that I'll show you. That way I can better explain to you what I believe your type is and why.
I mean, even when we were having that religious talk,
Um,
I I could be, but based off of the stuff that I'm asking and the stuff that I have, and nobody have any kind of answer for it, then
mhm.
we just gonna have to agree to disagree
Right,
because you
right.
can't prove your point, and I can't fully prove my point, but you don't have
Yeah,
anything to go on. So
yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
But I can have the conversation without an issue because I know that I don't know for sure, and I know they don't know for sure. So it becomes a subjective argument after so long.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay. I think I found what I was looking for. Okay. So the type that I believe that you are is a type that we call ISTP in the Myers-Briggs system. So I'm going to explain to you what the dichotomies are, and then I'm going to explain to you what the cognitive functions are. So first and foremost, the dichotomies. So we have the I versus the E. So, all right, so yeah, I'll put it like this. So we have 4 dichotomies, right? The ISTP in your tag, it's essentially a 4-letter code that is explaining the way that your mind is wired and how you take in information and how you make decisions with it. So the first dichotomy is I versus E. So I stands for introvert, E stands for extrovert. So an introvert, usually we hear that introverts, they gain their energy from being alone, and extroverts gain their energy from being with people. I think that a more accurate way of looking at introversion and extroversion is where is your energy directed. So for introverts, their energy is more directed into their internal world, whether it's like, building up their thoughts on life or their perceptions or their values, things like that. Or if it's or for extroverts, they might focus more on external like accomplishments or external world of interpersonal dynamics or external world of visceral experiences, ideas, etc. And we all have both, which we're going to get into more. But I think that you are someone who leans more on the introverted side. I think that you're someone who the real world for you, or the world that you spend the most time with, is the one internally. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So the second dichotomy is S versus N. So S types are people who are usually more of a concrete thinker. They like to think of things that are most reliable, verifiable, and consistent. Things that are very factual. Whereas N types, intuitive types, they like to think of things that are like extremely philosophical. They rely most on things that are just behind the scenes and or behind the curtain, and just really not verifiable in nature, very abstract and conceptual and lofty. I think that you're good at both of these, to be totally honest. And I'm going to explain more of why that is. But I do think that your natural strength is more in the S realm. And like I said, we'll explain more of what that is in a moment when we get into the mental processes. But would you say that you agree with that so far?
Yeah. I was waiting for you to finish, and I was actually gonna say I think I like both of those actually, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I
Yeah.
mean, I find having the conversations about
Mhm.
aliens, space, religion, whatever. I love the conversations, but
Mhm.
when it comes to proving a point or something like that, I like to have, like I say, verifiable answers and facts, so that way there's no question.
Right.
Just,
Exactly.
just having conversations, yeah, I do like to have the conversations, but I
Mhm.
already know going into those kind of conversations that there is no real right answer because we
Mhm.
don't.
Exactly. Yeah. 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 Exactly. So then going over to the next dichotomy is T, and then the opposite of a T is an F. So T stands for thinker. Thinkers are people who make decisions based off of logic, metrics, data, facts, things like that. Whereas feelers tend to make their decisions based off of how they feel, what their values are, and slash or how it's going to affect other people emotionally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, and I think that you're more of a thinker type. Would you agree?
I definitely agree with it.
Yeah. And then lastly, the last dichotomy I'd say is perceiver. The opposite of that is a judger type. So once again, this one was a little bit difficult for me to decide, but I think that when we get into the cognitive functions, and I'm going to go ahead and go through that with you, and then we'll really break it down deeper. This part is just like the surface, but we're about to break past this. So yeah. So for the last dichotomy, P versus J, perceiver types are people who are more open-ended and they're a little bit more spontaneous. They have a more free flow nature to them. They don't always need things like as very detailed planned, whereas like a judger, they are people who usually really try to keep their external world like extremely organized, and they like pretty much are not always as good with spontaneity. And so I think that once again, you lean more on the perceiver side, but this one was again like a little bit more difficult for me, and I'll explain to you, why in a minute. But
I can understand why.
what'd you say?
I said I can understand why because I know I'm kind of on both sides of the fence on that too.
Exactly.
Like I remember when we talked on the other one, I told you that if I'm the one doing it to myself, it doesn't bother me.
Right.
But when somebody else do it to me, I don't like it.
Exactly.
Making to go do this or go do that at spur of the moment, it don't bother me at all because I'm doing it to myself.
Right.
But when somebody else do it to me, oh no, I don't like that at all.
Yeah, exactly. And that was definitely something that I was thinking about for a minute. And I was like, this is very interesting because I was going between like two types. So I was like, okay, but I have an idea now of like why that might have been. So this is where I'll share. So like I said, this is the type that I believe that you are, ISTP, introverted, sensing, thinking, perceiving, as you can see here. And this is all from a site called personalityhacker.com. So this is where I learned most of the stuff that I am doing. This is also where I'm getting my certification. So this class is coming from there. So now what we have here is what we call your cognitive functions. So what I mean by that is every personality type, what we just talked about were the dichotomies. So I versus E, S versus N, T versus F, P versus J. But this part is the dichotomies. So not the dichotomies. This part is your mental processes. And the easiest way or the best way that I've seen to be able to explain our mental processes is like a 4-passenger car. That's how Personality Hacker likes to put it. So you'll have your driver, which is your strongest, the one that you are in all the time, and the one that you operate from all the time, the one that's like pretty much your front seat. As you can see over there, it says this is the most developed function of your personality. You spend most of your time here naturally because it puts you into flow. And then you have your co-pilot. And your co-pilot is pretty much like the one that's your second strongest, and it's the opposite attitude of your driver. So attitudes are extroversion and introversion. So if your driver is an introverted function or introverted mental process, then your co-pilot's going to be an extroverted mental process so that it can balance things out. And then if your driver is an extroverted mental process, then your co-pilot's going to be an introverted cognitive function so that it can once again balance things out. But then the problem with that is that a lot of times people don't like going to their co-pilot because they want to stay in the attitude of their driver function. So an introvert might try to hoard on introversion time and not get into their co-pilot of extroversion. Or an extrovert might hoard on their on their extroversion time and not get into their co-pilot of introversion. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for you, well, we'll get into that. But then we have the 10-year-old, which is right behind the co-pilot. And it's also the flip side coin of the co-pilot. So we're going to talk about that in a moment. And then we have the 3-year-old. And that is also the flip side coin of the driver. So does that all track so far? This is where it gets very complicated, but you tracking with me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now we're going to talk about these 4 processes that you have here. So in your driver's seat is a function that we call introverted thinking, and the nickname for it is accuracy. So that's what you can see right here. So we have your driver here, your co-pilot, your 10-year-old, and then your 3-year-old. So as you can see over here, your driver function is going to be a function that we call introverted thinking or accuracy. And it's all about what makes sense to you in your internal world. It says that they are detached from the messiness of the relationships and emotions, and it asks what makes sense logically. So for people who drive with introverted thinking or accuracy, they're always thinking, all right, hold up. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. What makes sense to me? What's the framework for this? Introverted thinking people, they also like to pick things apart. They like to ask questions. They like to also at times pick things apart like physically, and they can figure out like, okay, this system, like kind of how you were talking about like with your car, like and how you set up your sound system in our last session. Okay, I can see how this translates over to this. And so you kind of see the pattern from that, and then you can move that logic into different areas, which comes in again now with your co-pilot. So your co-pilot is a function that we call extroverted sensing. This is all about pretty much being in the moment. It's all about being flexible. This is the part of you that's good at being able to be spontaneous. And when you said that, when you're by yourself, you can just free flow it. But then, when it's with other people, which we're going to get into that, then that's where it becomes a little bit more of a problem. But yeah, I believe that this is the part of you that, it's what makes you like good with your hands. Like how you said in our last session, you were like, yeah, my neighbor said that, I'm a handyman or something. I don't know. I just know how to do it, but that's a superpower that you have. Not everybody is good at just being able to fix things or be able to just translate like, a car works like this. And so now that I know how a car works, like then I can fix this sound system because it's kind of like similar in this way. And then boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? And this is also the part of you. So another thing that extroverted sensing has as a mental process is, again, so it's all about like, being in the moment. It's all about being aware of your surroundings. So this is the part of you that's like, you didn't see that girl just like pick her nose. You didn't like extroverted sensing catches everything that's going on around it, and it knows how to respond to it very quickly. It's also the part of you that is, I'm a really good shot. And adrenaline, you get excited, when you have to do certain things that are viscerally, because extroverted sensing is all about, sensation. It's all about visceral experiences. It's the part of you that's like excited when you are in your room and you have movies like, blasting at like however loud because you want to be in that experience. I remember that we were talking one time and you were like, yeah, I play everything loud, like everything is just an experience for you because you love that sensation. Then it's also the other part of it is being able to see things for what they are. So it's kind of like what you were saying. Like, so when extroverted sensing and introverted thinking are together, then just like what you were just saying, it's like, all right, I see the facts right here. Like, we don't have to read deep into any of this. Like, it don't matter if it's calligraphy or whatnot. Like, this is the facts. This is just the information. And you can't tell me anything because your introverted thinking is like, all of that just doesn't make sense. You just want accuracy, which is also what you feel like sets you apart from everyone. You said like your accuracy function, that driver is the part of you that's always like, man, I just want the truth. I don't care how much it's going to hurt, like how much it's going to hurt or whatever. I just want truth. I just want accuracy. And that's why you keep on searching for that. Whereas like a lot of other people, they might not even have accuracy in their car. It might not be that high for them, stuff like that. So they don't always really appreciate such truths. And this is why sometimes you can be a little bit too harsh with your truth because the way that you want people to give you the truth and everything, and then you marry that with your extroverted sensing where you just say it in a very blunt manner, but then other people are like, oh man, that hurt my feelings. And then you don't even really understand like why you weren't trying to hurt their feelings. But then also if it doesn't make sense to you why their feelings are hurt, then you don't care. You don't feel as bad. Does that all make sense so far?
Oh yeah.
Cool. So now right behind extroverted sensing is its flip side coin. So the opposite of extroverted sensing is introverted intuition. This is the part of you that's all about, okay, I need to know what's happening. I need to be able to adjust on the dime when things are about to happen. And this is also the part of you that gets really deep into the philosophical and the abstract things. It's all about pretty much being able to hop into other people's perspectives, and it's about being able to see long timelines of how things are going to be influenced over time. And at the same time, it's also about it's 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 essentially, the way that I like to explain it is kind of like if you're like sitting down and you're listening to a pastor, and then you have thought A, thought B, thought C, thought D, all the way up to like thought Q. And then you're like, wait a minute, how the heck did I start thinking about this? People with introverted intuition, also nicknamed as perspectives, their mind subconsciously and automatically reroutes, or not reroutes, but retraces its thought process all the way back to thought A. Then it's like, oh, that's how I knew, like that's how I got over to thought Q. So now if somebody else comes to you and they're thinking thought C, then because you've been back and forth and you can see that relationship with thought A and thought Q, then you might be like, Q, and they're like, whoa, how the heck did you know that I was going to think that and everything? And it's like, oh, I don't know. But your mind just naturally already is familiar with that terrain. So for you, it's a 10-year-old function. It's your third strongest function. So that means that obviously, you got kids. 10-year-olds, they're still smart. They still say a lot of things. They can still keep up and everything. But you don't want it driving your car. And that's why you have a threshold for like, we can talk about this all day, whatever. But your extroverted sensing comes into play. It's like, hey, if it's not fact, then that is not fact. Like we have to keep it in the abstract realm. Like we're not about to like follow this religiously because none of us actually know. So it's fun to talk about, but we're not about to like stick to this because we don't got the facts. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then lastly, we have extroverted feeling. That's the flip side coin of introverted thinking. So extroverted feeling is all about like when people have it as a driver function, all they're usually thinking about is like interpersonal dynamics. Oh, how is what I'm going to say going to affect how other people feel? How are these people interacting? How are these people interacting? What are the social norms? Getting people's needs met, stuff like that. Obviously, you could probably see why this is a 3-year-old function for you. This is the place where you struggle with the most. And like when you talk about like, oh man, like, I don't know, like you just accidentally are always hurting people's feelings. And it's because that introverted thinking is the flip side coin of extroverted feelings. So you focus so much on what truth is, on what accuracy is, on saying things just as like how it is, and what makes sense regardless of how others might feel. And it might not even be on your radar, the harmony of the situation. Like, oh shoot, maybe I should be more careful. I think over time, that's what you've learned. You've learned to be more careful. Like, okay, hold on. Let me actually be a little bit more careful with what I say and how I say it, because nobody cares how much I know until they know how much I care, And so that's when you start to be like, okay, I still want to give accuracy. I still want to be truthful, but I'm going to try to read the room a little bit more. I'm going to try to like make sure that these people actually want to hear the stuff, my opinions and my thoughts on what I want, and what I have to say. And on top of that, this is also the part of you now that like it says, like you don't like useless drama. You're not trying to just sit there and just argue for arguing's sake, because it's like, no, like I'm not trying to get into all of that. So instead, you just kind of like keep your thoughts to yourself a lot of times, and you just try to like end it.
Being married for the second time.
Yeah. Exactly.
I learned all those things you're talking about from being married.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's definitely like the part of you that is essentially like, again, like for people who have it as a strength, people who have harmony as their driver, they'll have introverted thinking as or accuracy as their 3-year-old. So harmony and introverted thinking always come together, or harmony and accuracy always come together. And then perspectives and sensation, they always come together. But it might be in different places of the car. So if somebody has harmony as their driver, then that means that accuracy is always going to be their 3-year-old. If they have harmony as their co-pilot, then that means that accuracy is always going to be their 10-year-old, stuff like that. And so for you, since you have accuracy as your driver, then harmony is your 3-year-old. So that means that you prioritize truth and accuracy and just saying things as it is, not beating around the bush. And then that could, the consequence of that can be you hurt a lot of people's feelings at times, and you might not always understand the social customs around you, and you might not be able to make friends as easily, stuff like that. Whereas if you have harmony as a driver function, then accuracy will be your 3-year-old. So then you might be really good and friendly with like a lot of people, but then people don't ever know what you actually think. You might be often susceptible to people's thoughts and just believing what other people say without thinking for yourself. And you might have like a lot of trouble with actually saying your truth because you're afraid of causing conflict. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that is essentially what the ISTP personality type is. And yeah, do you have any questions on that so far?
How many different types are there?
There's 16.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And so there's 16 types, and then there are 8 mental processes. So right now you see 4 mental processes over there, but there are certain types that have like different variations of these of 8. So for example, like ENFP, for example, they have all the 4 mental processes that you don't have. So instead of introverted thinking, they have extroverted thinking. Instead of extroverted sensing, they have introverted sensing. Instead of introverted intuition, they have extroverted intuition. And instead of extroverted feeling, they have introverted feeling, which is all very different things. Jamila, she's an ISFP. So very similar type to yours, but instead of introverted thinking as her driver, she has introverted feeling as her driver. And then her co-pilot is the same as yours, and her 10-year-old is also the same as yours. So that's why Jamila, she can talk about all of the deep stuff and everything, just like you can and everything. And she's also like really good with like, for her, it's performance and self-expression, whereas like for you, it's more of like tools and, you know, fixing things in that way. Because yours comes with the introverted thinking, whereas like for hers, it comes with introverted feeling. So there's that. But then her 3-year-old is extroverted thinking, whereas your 3-year-old is extroverted feeling. So her issue, instead of like, oh, hurting people's feelings and all that, would be more of like, okay, how do I actually put this plan into action? Whereas for you, that's not really an issue as often. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife would be all feeling, everything feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet you that we could probably easily find out what she is. I already have an idea, but it's very loose. So, but yeah, I think that I would agree with you. She do seem like a feeler type.
All about feelings and emotions. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around a lot of the stuff that she get emotional about and have such strong feelings for. Because
Yeah.
I say it'll be something that has nothing to do with our lives at all, and she feels so strongly about it. At the end of the day, it don't really matter because it don't affect us anyway.
Yeah.
But her, it's the end of the world. Man, what did I say? It's that serious. Then I shut my mouth because that's when I tell myself it's time to be quiet,
Mm.
or you're gonna have 2 weeks of pain.
That's good. It seems like you're tapping into that harmony function over there.
Yeah.
It's a little bit late, but like you said, the second marriage now, so you're like, oh, I'm catching on.
Yeah, the first marriage I ain't catch on to that well. I just would stick to my stance and face the repercussions of my actions, but whatever. Now I'm like, okay, time to shut down. It's not even worth the win. I don't want to win that situation because winning equals losing in that situation.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. And
So
yeah,
if
and I think that
it's pertaining to my life or anything, I just let it go. You can have it. Have that
right.
win, even though it's not a real win for you, but I'm gonna let you have it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that also the reason why, so like once again, going back to the dichotomies, the reason why I was like P or J is because you have that extroverted sensing and introverted intuition in the middle. So you go back and forth easily between, okay, I want things planned and organized and everything, versus, oh, I want to have like freedom to pretty much do what I want to do. And it seems like also, like you said, it's more about how you have to deal with other people. So it's not even, to me, what it sounded like is that it's not necessarily that you have everything planned out just because you're that anal and you cannot move spontaneously, but it's more because you don't want to deal with people, which is your 3-year-old function over there, when you're not, like, you don't want that imposed on you. So just like you said, like, if you weren't prepared for it, then now it's like they're throwing your 3-year-old function of extroverted feeling / harmony just out there, and you're like, whoa, I have to mentally prepare for me to be able to use this. And that's why you'd rather have stuff like that planned. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I can see how I'm all over the place with that. I mean, just like I said about making big purchases and stuff like that, I hate that buyer's remorse feeling.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like my car, like I say, I researched my car for years before I bought it.
Right.
Since 2012, and I love this car still to this day. So it works out for me to do that kind of research, or just like the RV situation. I've been reading that for years. So whatever I do, I'm gonna be totally satisfied with, and I won't have to worry about wasting money because I really did my research and know exactly what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that goes again, like back to that introverted thinking right there, where it's like you're just looking for the accuracy, you're doing that research before you get into that extroverted sensing to make a move and like to jump right into it. So you're not always going to jump right into stuff. You're going to pause, going to take some time to think about it, stuff like that. And then once again, having that extroverted sensing and introverted intuition in the middle, then that was also why I was like, okay, you have a lot of S and you have a lot of N, but what you seem to prioritize more is the S, or you get what I'm saying? So you have like more of that sensation there.
Well, I mean, and as far as like spontaneity, I mean, okay, we'll use the example that most couples can use as far as men and women or whatever when they're going out to get something to eat. If I ask, we'll be sitting there in the car for 20 minutes before she say what she wants. But it don't take me any time to decide to go where to go to get something to eat.
Right.
But see, the way I'm looking at it is, I just need to eat.
Exactly.
So what can I eat right now? That can be a million different things. So I'm gonna say, okay, what's closer, and then I'll get something that's closer.
Yeah.
But like my wife, when she think about what to eat, the first thing she might think is, what type of food do I want to eat?
That's how Jamila be like too.
What type of food do I want to eat? Am I in the mood for that right now? Will it be too heavy? It's all kind of stuff that go through her mind. And like, where did all that come from? We still got to eat. Don't understand why you got to think that much about going to get something to eat. So just get something to eat. We don't have to worry about if it's gonna sit on your stomach for a long time. I just don't think about stuff like that. That's a decision to me. That's concrete. I don't need that many factors in deciding what to eat.
Right, exactly. No, I definitely feel you there. I definitely feel you. I feel like I relate a lot to that. So
I don't think I'm gonna have buyer's remorse from eating something that I don't eat.
right.
You know, I don't. It don't play in like the other decisions that I make. Because I'm not gonna eat and then later on be like, man, I should have went to Jack in the Box and got something to eat. You know, not even go. I got something to eat and I'm happy. I ate, and that's it. I'm not even thinking about it no more. But she'll throw everything into that decision. A million different variables for her when it comes to making that decision.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating for me because I'm sitting there like, why is it taking so long? Because I mean, she'll make a decision and we'll even be riding to the place, and then she might backtrack and say, you know what? I think I really do want to go over here and get this food. I'm like, what? This and we already almost there. Like, why would you change your mind? And after you sat and decided on this for 20 minutes,
Right.
it doesn't make any sense to me at all. And that'll be another example of where I gotta just not say anything.
Keeping the harmony. I might profile her if she gets time and she's interested. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, I'll let her know.
Yeah, we could definitely schedule that and then probably use that for my class too, and it'll probably help you understand her a lot more. So yeah, that'd be fun. But I'll definitely send you the recordings to both of these, so that way, because I know it was a lot of information. And I'll send you some links too, so that you'll be able to like look it up. And then any questions that you might have, you can also hit me up, and then we can talk about it some more. But
All right.
yeah, but does it all make sense to you so far though?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Awesome, cool. All right, well, yeah, I guess that's it. Thanks again for allowing me to be able to interview. It's been fun. Like I said, my instructor said that she loved you. Some of my classmates, I was telling them about you too, and I think that yeah, they're gonna if they get to see the videos, they're definitely gonna enjoy it. So
so you said ISTP.
yeah, ISTP. You look into it and you let me know what you think.
So is that a common one?
They're not the most common, but they're also not like super rare. Like, Andy, Jamila's older brother,
Oh.
He's ISTP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we actually did an interview video together about the personality type ISTP. So yeah, I'll send that to you. Maybe you could check it out and you probably might relate.
I one of the ones you did on YouTube, man.
Yeah, it's one of them I did on YouTube, yeah.
I think I saw it.
Oh, you did? Oh, true? Okay.
That was a long time. But that was before I was looking into my own stuff, though.
Right. Yeah. But all right, I'm going to end the podcast now.
For taking the time to watch that video. And if you enjoyed that, please like and subscribe. It actually really helps out my channel a lot, so that more people who actually care about what I want to say can actually find me a lot more easier. Also, if you did enjoy it, then maybe you'll enjoy a lot of my other content as well. So be sure to check out some of my playlists, where you'll be able to find a lot of my older videos and older content. And last but not least, if you would like any profiling sessions or coaching sessions, be sure to check out denzelmensah.com, where you'll be able to book me and you'll see the rest of my services. But thanks again and have a great day.